Hello there everyone, I am Celestia and welcome to today's video. On my channel we discuss economics and how to bring the economics to everyday life and a little bit of lifestyle in there as well. But today we are doing something more of a chatty style video. I am reflecting on a 100-day content creation project, as today is the final day of this project. I know, it's crazy, 100 days. That is just so insane. It's 2,400 hours, so very, very, very exciting to have finally feel completed this project. I honestly did not feel like it would ever end. Yeah, it was a lot of work. Anyway, so here are some of my things that I have learned through this time period, and hopefully you will benefit from them as well. Quantity over quality. Now, we've all heard from everyone from the famous actors, musicians, sports stars, YouTubers, influencers, you name it, professionals. Most of them talk about quality being greater than quantity. And that is true, provided you are not a beginner. When you are starting out, you are not aiming for high quality work. You are aiming to consistently do any work within your chosen craft, field, skill, whatever. You're trying to just get yourself to be able to do the thing in the beginning. So this is a bit of a mindset shift, because usually when we think of somebody who is an adult doing something, we imagine that they'd be fairly good. However, that is not exactly the case when you are first starting out at something, as in anything, regardless of your age. So we should learn to be kinder to ourselves and say that even though this is not of a really high standard, we should still not be afraid to put that out there. Don't be afraid to be the worst dancer in the class, or to be the last runner on the track, or to be the worst person who in the cooking class, whatever it is that you're trying to do. Because when you're first starting out, you probably will suck. So when you're first starting out, your emphasis should be on consistently doing this activity enough times for it to make some kind of difference, so eventually you will sound good. Okay? In society, when we tend to think of people learning things or being bad at things, we tend to imagine children or adolescents. When we think of like adults or like 40-year-olds or something who have now who have now gone back to university, or who are starting a new career, or who have just landed a role in a major TV film or a TV or series or movie for the first time in their lives, and this is the first time they're doing something, we tend to be gobsmacked and be like, what? When in reality, this is not. This creates a perception in our minds that if you are older, then you shouldn't be trying new things as much, and that you should be focusing. This comes from the fact that many of us are specialized in one area or two from the industrial era. However, as we now know, the economy is changing, and people don't really tend to stay within one job or one specific thing for their entire life. So we should also apply that to our learning and hobbies and personal life, and just in general, we should be focusing on continually improving and being okay with the fact that we will be beginners at multiple stages in our lives in a variety of things. So, yeah, quantity over quality if you're new at something. Okay? Once you become more advanced and get more skills and stuff, then you can talk about quality over quantity. When you're first starting out, you just have to put things up. Okay, the second lesson was that time is of the essence. Now, I cannot tell you that I spent every single minute of the day devoted to this project, because that would be a lie. I have a day job and I have other commitments as well, so it would be inconceivable to spend every second of the day on this project. But it did take a considerable chunk of time. And to do that, I had to say no to some things. For example, reprioritizing, refocusing, that took some time. I did try other methods, like, for example, calendar blocking, I found that it didn't work for me, and it was really stressful for me to see like chunks of my calendar, and it made it look like a coloring book, and it was just, no, I didn't like it. Another thing that most people talk about is like waking up at 5 a.m. so then you have like 2 or 3 extra hours of the day to work, but that doesn't work for me. I find myself getting drained and stressed if I do that. So I still wake up relatively early in the morning, but I work out, or I meditate, or I do something like that, because I don't like to work first thing in the morning. Like, I'll do something for myself, because that's how I function. If you manage to work first thing in the morning, that's great, but I don't, okay? The next thing, and this is probably the biggest thing that could come out of this, is a mindset shift. In this mindset shift, I basically told myself that I was going to be a creator rather than a consumer. And this affected me in every sphere, really. The way I approach art, the way I approach work, the way I approach life in general. Okay? But in reality, there were some hard and fast rules for this. So, for the amount of time that I spent on a given social media platform, for example, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever, I then had to stop after a certain amount of time and then create something for that platform. So if we're talking about Instagram right now, I would have had to create Instagram stories, or a feed post, or a reel, which I almost never did, but the last one anyway, I did the other two. But from that, it not only allowed me to experiment with a lot of different types of poses and content and forced me to think up things on the fly, it also got me to use those social media platforms for entertainment or for out of boredom less, because I knew that I would have to create something, and when I wasn't in the mood, then I just tended to do other things instead. In addition, it also got me to recognize how much time I was spending on those social media platforms out of boredom or out of the need for some form of entertainment, rather than focusing on more pressing and more prevalent things. So that was very interesting. I still catch myself mindlessly scrolling from time to time, but it's become much less, and that is in and of itself a really great side benefit from this project that I didn't imagine that I would have received. Okay. The lesson I learned was action is more important than having good ideas. It's from a YouTuber, Michelle B, that I really like, but it was really applicable, and it was something that I got from this. Basically, in the beginning, I procrastinated a lot and felt like a complete imposter with everything I did, because I just felt that I needed better ideas and better content and better ways of shooting and just better everything, because I felt that I had to produce work of a certain standard, and I had to produce things that were like completely original and completely, amazing all the time. Instead of recognizing that action trumps any form of ideas, because you already have great ideas, but you're probably not going to be able to produce them at that level right in the beginning, because you're a beginner and because you don't always know what you're doing. So putting out anything in the beginning is better than putting out nothing. Okay, well, in my humble opinion, it is. Okay? So just getting through that motion of actually putting things out on a consistent basis, sticking to a schedule, creating a content calendar, those types of things was really hard in the beginning, but now that I'm into the rhythm of it, I actually feel like I can have better ideas, or that things are starting to come along now. Whereas previously, I just had ideas and then never acted upon them. Okay. The next thing was that my inner fear, or just inner doubt and criticism, was much greater than the reality of it. That it took me a long time to get through this, or to get this idea impressed upon my mind. Because we all know that like doing new things or trying new stuff can result in criticism from friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, random guy on the street. Everybody wants to throw in their 2 cents. And at times it can feel really, really hard to have this different approach, idea, or way of life. So by engaging in this project, I had to learn some strategies. My first one is that people only need to know what they need to know. So if you have someone who you know is just going to be overtly critical of you the entire time, then you can just tell them the bare minimum of what they have to know, or just not tell them at all. Just manage what people know and what information you give them, so that you don't have to consistently deal with that type of negative feedback, okay? And then the second strategy was to realize that most people are more concerned with themselves than they are you. So while they might say a sarcastic comment or a joke or something, it's going to, in the end, they're going to forget about you in about 5 minutes and go back to themselves. So the social repercussions are often much less than what we imagine they will be. And this comes from someone who, as an extrovert and who tends to want other people's approval, something I have to work through, but anyway, that it does hurt a little bit more than it should when people are like, oh, that's a ridiculous idea, or oh, I can't believe you're doing that. But better, 9 times out of 10, they end up being impressed, or like when you're doing other stuff that's really cool, most people tend to be like, wow, I had no idea that you were doing this, or I had no idea that I knew someone like that within my social circle was trying these things. So the social repercussions and things that we imagine would happen to us often much less than you think. Okay, well, that's it for today. I hope you like and subscribe, and yeah, I will make new videos every Tuesday and Saturday, so I'll see you around.